Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachanine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Dasatani. Vanchika Patrubhyashchaka Pashandavya Vajapatitanam Pavanivyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, do we read everyone read the verse or just me?
No, Prabhuji, it will be just you. We'll save time that way. We can hear more from you.
Okay. This is, what verse is this? Where are we?
We are on first canto, second chapter, shloka number 34. The last verse of the second chapter of Bhagavad, first canto.
Okay, 1, 2, 30. Bhagavatyesha satvena lokan loka bhavanaha Leelavatar Divityam Narajishu. Word meanings. Bhavati maintains Eshaha, all these, Satvena, in the mode of goodness. Lokan, all over the universe. By, generally, Loka Bhavanaha, the master of all the universes. Lila, pastimes. Avatara, incarnations. Anurataha, assuming the role. Deva, the demigods. Tiryak, lower animals. Nara Ajishu, in the midst of human beings. Translation: the Lord of the universes maintains all planets inhabited by the demigods, men and lower animals. Assuming the roles of incarnations, he performs pastimes to reclaim those in the mode of pure goodness. Purport: there are innumerable universes, and in each and every universe there are innumerable planets inhabited by different grades of living entities in different modes of nature. The Lord, Vishnu, incarnates himself in each and every one of them, and in each and every type of living society. But we don't know about all the incarnations in other, we only know of the main incarnations. This is very interesting. He manifests his transcendental pastimes amongst them, just to create the desire to go back to Godhead. The Lord does not change his original transcendental position, but he appears to be differently manifested according to the particular time, circumstances, and society. Sometimes he incarnates himself or empowers a suitable living entity to act for him. But in either case, the purpose is the same. The Lord wants the suffering living entities to go back home, back to Godhead. The happiness which the living beings are hankering for is not to be found within any corner of the innumerable universes and material planets. The eternal happiness which the living entity wants is obtainable in the kingdom of God. But the forgetful living beings, under the influence of the material modes, have no information of the kingdom of God. The Lord therefore comes to propagate the message of the kingdom of God, either personally or as an incarnation or through his bona fide representative as the good Son of God. Such incarnations or sons of God are not making propaganda for going back to Godhead only within the human society. Their work is also going on in all types of societies amongst demigods and other than human beings. Well, we don't have information how Krishna preaches to the other forms. I mean, we know he comes in other forms, but we don't have information. We generally have information that the human form of life is the form of life in which you can go back to Godhead. But we don't have any details about how you could go back to Godhead as Krishna's dog incarnation. I mean, It's interesting that Prabhupada says this, but we don't have any information. I need to still look at the purport and at the same time see everybody. So can you bring the purport back up or the verse back up? Or we have it here? Let's say 11th canto. He'll bring it back up. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we can't say much about these incarnations. That's quite interesting, isn't it? But we don't hear about, we hear, Krishna came as a boar and so forth. But these are pastimes in Bhagavatam. Do they have, and how Krishna manifests in different forms is, we don't know. But the main point that Prabhupada's making here is that Krishna cares enough about all living entities that he will come, that somehow or other he will manifest, whether it's himself or empower devotee, or as we're reading here, in some other form to benefit all living entities. So this is interesting because as devotees, I was just thinking this morning something. As devotees, you can understand philosophically everything, but that's not the main thing, and that's not enough to keep you in, necessarily to help you advance. Just understanding is not enough. But where you know yourself, if you come to Krishna consciousness, but if you don't feel taken care of, if you don't feel loved, if you don't feel appreciated, if you don't feel affection, you might not be able to stay in the association of devotees, because we're we need these things. And so what this verse is talking about really is the affection that Krishna has for us. That's really what, I mean, if you just want to extract the essence aside from any other philosophical points, what we see here is how Krishna is so affectionate, and he wants so much that we go back to Godhead and live eternally with him, that somehow or other he'll come in one way or the other. And of course, Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya's incarnation, is really the essence of this point. Because if you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll see that Mahaprabhu came to give love to everyone, even the people who are trying to avoid it, the people who are running away from him, the people who were so into ritual or philosophy that love didn't touch their heart, because ritual and philosophy can actually harden your heart, as austerity can harden the heart. And um, so Mahaprabhu has come to melt hearts, isn't it? And if our job also is to melt hearts. That was his job. We continue his job. Our job is to melt hearts. And melt hearts means that we show the same affection that Krishna shows. Prabhupada once told a devotee, you should not only tell people that God loves them, but perhaps more importantly, you should show them by your activities. How you treat others should be a manifestation of how God treats them. So because if I'm treated unkindly, harshly by a devotee, then I'll think, oh, God is harsh, or God is not loving, because his devotees are not loving. So Prabhupada said, you tell people that Krishna loves you, and you show that by how you treat them. So you show that love through your actions. So that's what's going on here. How do I move the purport? I can't move it. Only you can move it. Could you move it up to, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. So now Prabhupada's talking um, about a point which is very fundamental. This is, of course, first canto, so these are fundamental points, but you can go more deeply into fundamental points. The the happiness which the living beings are hankering for is not to be found within any corner of the innumerable universes and material planets. The eternal happiness which a living being wants is obtainable in the kingdom of God, but the forgetful living beings under the influence of the material modes have no information. The Lord therefore comes to propagate the message of the kingdom of God. They have no information of the kingdom of God. Um, Either personally as an incarnation or through his bona fide representative as the good Son of God. Such incarnations are sons of God, are now making propaganda for going back to Godhead, not only within human society. Okay, so as I was saying before, what does this say about Krishna? Like Krishna knows better than we do that we're not going to be happy. Okay, you can take the purport down, then I can see the lotus faces of all the devotees. Now I'm seeing my lotus face. I'm going to change my view. Hold on a second. I can see everybody. You know, it's so strange. When you give a class, you don't see yourself, but on Zoom, you see yourself. It's a little awkward. Yeah. So, um, what I'd like you to meditate on now is there's a beyond the philosophy in this verse, there's a feeling. And if you could get into this feeling, what is the feeling? Krishna is the father and he misses his children. That's the feeling that's coming through this purport. And that's the same feeling that Prabhupada has, because if you're a representative of Krishna, then you're going to represent, if you are actual representative, you will represent his mood. So what your father feels, you would feel. That's natural. If your father says, I miss your brother, tell your brother I want to see him, then you also feel that, isn't it? Yes, to some degree, you will feel that. So sometimes we read these purports and we don't feel what's being said. It just goes into our head. Oh, yes, we should save all the conditioned souls, right? So you can get something in your head that you don't feel, and that's only half of what's being said. So I would suggest when you study Prabhupada's books, when you hear philosophy, when you hear classes, don't just hear with your head because there's a feeling behind it. You know, like they have this process called empathic listening. Empathic listening means you don't only listen for the information, you listen for the feeling. What is the person feeling? So I have a god brother and he has a he coined a term, empathic theology. And what he means by that empathic theology is when God speaks, you don't only hear what he says, but you feel what he feels. So Krishna says, uh, if you think of me, you'll come back to me. Why is he even talking about coming back to him? Because he's missing us. Now, I know it's difficult for most devotees to think that God would miss me because I'm a rascal. I'm kind of on the level of Jagan Madai or in close to that league. Why would he even care? And I don't really care that much about him. I care more about like Raskul and Gulab Jamun and Sandesh, Burfi, more than I care about my japa. That tastes a lot better than my japa, doesn't it? That's my prayer today. I wish my japa tasted like rasgulla. And all that juice was the dripping down my cheeks was love of Krishna, but it doesn't. So then it's hard to sometimes it's hard to feel what Krishna feels when we don't understand how it is that he would feel that way. Or I think another thing that happens is we think Krishna's transcendental. So he he wouldn't feel certain things because he's transcendental. But what did Prabhupada say a million times? If you feel it, it only means that he feels it. So, like, if you think, you might think, I feel this, but God doesn't because he's transcendental. Well, how did you feel it? Where did that feeling come from? Maybe your feeling's perverted, but you can't feel it if he doesn't feel it, right? Isn't it? So, Krishna's transcendental and Krishna's Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Patitavibhavis. He's he's like he's doing okay in Goloka. He's like everything's good. And we ran away and why would he care? There's so can you feel this purport? Can you feel Krishna's like when you read it? Can you feel that? He's coming in every form. He's sending his son. He's like, if I can't get him this way, I'll come. If that didn't work, I'll send my son or I'll come again as incarnation. If that didn't work, after Mahaprabhu things kind of disintegrated. Okay, I'll send Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He'll revive it. I'll send Bhakti Siddhanta. He'll really revive it. I'll send Bhaktivedanta Swami. He'll take it through the world. A lot of times I tell devotees, I think one of the greatest manifestations of Krishna's care for us is that he sent Prabhupada. Because if you think Krishna doesn't care about you, then the question is, why did he send Prabhupada if he didn't care? Why didn't he just say, to hell with you all? You had your chance. It's Kali Yuga. You should have gone back to Godhead. It's too late. I'm fed up with you, sick and tired of preaching to you. You don't listen. You keep coming back again and again. Forget it. You know, to the lions I send you. You just suffer. Just you want to stay in the material world, you can stay here forever. And then he says, no more. There's going to be no Hare Krishna movement's over. If you haven't made it now, I'm going to disintegrate it. So he doesn't give up, does he? Who gives up? Krishna or us? We give up. He doesn't. He doesn't give up. We give up. Oh, Krishna, don't bother me. I'm too. I want to, enjoy myself. Um, but I think also is a really important point. Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes this point. It's so simple, but it's so profound that what we're trying to do in the material world is enjoy matter. Matter's dead. We're trying to enjoy things that are dead. And we think those dead things are giving us happiness. And Krishna is coming and say, you are Satchidananda. You are not dead. I am not dead. Spiritual life is not dead. It's all alive. And you're trying to enjoy dead matter, Achit Nirananda. Nirananda, Achit, Sat, and Asat. I mean, think about it. Think about our desire to enjoy. What are we enjoying? We're enjoying things that are dead. Metal, plastic. What's your car made out of? Metal and plastic, right? What's your TV made out of? Metal and plastic. What's your computer made out of? Metal and plastic. How much enjoyment can you get from metal and plastic? Sanatan Dharma, your guitar is made out of wood. And he's like, well, you can get a lot of enjoyment out of a guitar. Yeah, you can. I play guitar also. You can. And you get a lot of enjoyment out of your car. But when you compare it to Satchidananda, you realize this is like I'm trying to squeeze pleasure out of something that's dead. That's Bhaktivinoda. Bhaktivinoda is, he said, and the real point is we're trying to squeeze love. That's really what we want, isn't it? As Prabhupada saying in the purport, there's no happiness here. What does he mean? There's no love here. We want love. And that's why sometimes it's so frustrating when you're in a relationship with the opposite sex and you do it for love and it turns out to be the opposite and you end up fighting. I mean, what could be worse than that? So We want love. That's why we come to Krishna consciousness. That's why we come in Sangha, to get love. We want love. And we're trying to get love out of matter. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, the women, wine, and flesh of beasts. Women, wine, and flesh of, so, intoxication, sex, meat, you could add to the list. He just listed those three. The women, wine, and flesh of this world, no love on thee bestow. Such a beautiful verse. Think about it. Like, what are you looking for? Are we looking for sense gratification? No, that's just the mind saying, this will make you, this is enjoyable. But we're not actually looking for that. That's not, and we all know that, you get some sense gratification, you feel good for a few minutes, but that's not really what the heart's looking for. So, no love on thee bestow. And Krishna's saying, I love you. And we're saying, eh, eh, I'll squeeze matter. I'll find my love in matter. Yeah. I love my car. Yeah. So you can marry your car and try to be happy. I love my guitar. Yeah. Marry your guitar. See how that works. Yeah. Well, sometimes it's so bad. I'd rather have a relationship with my guitar than some woman because she tortures me or something. So, or my dog is better friend than my so-called lover. Yeah. That's there. But that's the point that Krishna is making. I have love for you, and you're trying to get love out of matter, and I'm offering love for you. Like, what's wrong? Like, what don't you understand? What what don't you understand about I love you? And why do you still keep trying to enjoy material things? There's no love. You can squeeze it in any way you want. You won't get love. What? So this is the problem. This is the obstacle. And isn't it interesting that Krishna doesn't give up on us? Like we like don't get it, lifetimes and lifetimes we don't get it. And Krishna he has, I mean, like, look at it this way. He has so much affection for us, he won't give up on us, even though we're giving up on ourselves more than he's giving up on us. Yes? Have you ever given up on yourself? I don't care. It's too hard. Hare Krishna, it's too hard. Throw my beats. Schnick, schnick, ram, ram, ram. That's all. If you're chanting like that, you've given up on yourself. You've given up, isn't it? I got to chant these rounds. I made a promise. That's given up. And Krishna's looking at you while you're giving up and saying, what is wrong with you? I'm like, I want you to come back to me. Like, why don't you just do what you have to do? Like, why are you making me wait so long? I've been waiting for you forever, literally. If there's ever forever, if ever this word forever makes any sense, it's how long Krishna's waiting for us. It's forever. Why are you making me wait for you? I'm trying to get you back to Godhead. I'm coming. There's the Vedas, and then Vyasadeva, Narada Muni. Then there's a Bhagavatam. Come on, you've got the Bhagavatam. What more do you want? Then there's the Gita for, your ABCs. And then I come as Lord Chaitanya. Like, why can't you just give it all up and just, why can't you enter this realm of love? That's what this purport is saying. Behind all the philosophy, that's what it's saying. And if you start reading Prabhupada's books and reading Krishna's words from the point of asking yourself, what's Krishna feeling when he says this? What's the mood? Like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Arjuna, do you understand everything I said? Do you want me to explain it again? I'm ready to like, you know, what's the feeling there? Like, Arjuna, I want you. I'm here for you. I'll explain it again and again and again. And Arjuna means us. So it's like what Krishna's saying to us in that verse, what don't you understand? I'll explain it again. And then Krishna says, well, ultimately you have to decide you can do whatever you want. But then he says, but basically he says, you can do whatever you want, but don't do whatever you want. You know, what's your favorite verse in Bhagavad Gita? Oh, where Krishna says, do whatever you want. That's my favorite verse. Yeah. Hare Krishna. I follow Krishna perfectly. He says, do whatever you want. And that's what I do. So I'm following Bhagavad Gita. You know, don't bother me. I have my Gita, you have yours. So isn't that beautiful? Do whatever you want, but don't do whatever you want. You know, don't really, but I love you so much. I want you. Do whatever you want, but I want you to come back to me. You know, it's like you're talking to your kids and they're like, I don't know if I want to come home. And I don't know if I like you anymore. So you go, do it. Well, then do whatever you want because you can't really convince them, but I'd really like you to come. But I really do whatever you want, but I don't want you to do whatever you want. So if you read, you read Bhagavad Gita, there's so much philosophy, but if you go to the heart of it, what is the heart of it? I love you. Krishna is saying, I love you and I want you and I want a relationship with you. And we're like, no, I'm too busy. Maybe in the next life. I don't know. No, I want a relationship. I want to exchange love with you. Yeah, but it's so hard. 16 rounds, takes 2 hours. Who has 2 hours? You can't set aside 2 hours to prepare yourself to go back to God and enjoy eternal bliss with Krishna. Like, I don't know. Krishna's looking at you going, you can do better. Like, no, Krishna's saying, like, what's wrong with me? You don't want to give me 2 hours? Like, what's wrong? Like, am I ugly or something? I'm not nice. Did I hurt you? Like, did I offend you? Did I say something wrong? Like, I mean, think of it. See, the thing is, if you analyze what I'm saying, underlying everything I'm saying is you can realize our relation with Krishna is very impersonal because we don't deal with him. Like, because if every if everything I said was a person, right? It would be easy, like this person it'd be easy to understand, wouldn't it? Like, this is my friend, and my friend's saying this. But because it's Krishna, he's transcendental and I'm fallen soul. What can I do? And et cetera, et cetera. And so it impersonalizes. No, he doesn't really feel that way. How could he feel that way? I mean, come on, look at me. He doesn't really care about me. How could he? Prabhupada said, Krishna loves you even if you don't love him. Wow. Krishna loves you even if you don't love him. And listen to this. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful meditation for japa. One time Prabhupada said, you think of Krishna 24 hours a day, he'll think of you 26 hours. So, of course, Prabhupada was making the point that Krishna is reciprocating more. And then he said, you take one step, he'll take 100. We heard it was 10. Prabhupada said, no, it's actually 100. Well, that's good. You take one, he takes 10. So that was Prabhupada's point. But then I thought, wait a minute. Prabhupada's saying you think of Krishna, he thinks of you. I bet a lot of you thought you're chanting and you're wondering, does Krishna know I'm chanting? Does Krishna care? Is he listening? You ever think like that? Like, where is he? Is he actually around? Does he even care? Does he know? That's impersonalizing, don't you think? That's an impersonal way, does he care? Is he there? And Prabhupada's saying, this is so beautiful. When you chant your japa, you can meditate on this. Prabhupada says, Krishna is thinking of you. So you're chanting, Hare Krishna, going, it's so hard, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I can't do it. Oh, 4 rounds, that was so hard. Oh. And then you think, oh my God, oh my Govinda, I was just chanting and Krishna was thinking of me. The Supreme Personality of God was thinking of me when I chant. It's hard to stop chanting when you think like that, isn't it? Did you ever think like that? That Krishna's thinking of you? Yeah, Prabhu, I thought he was thinking of what an idiot I am because I chant so bad. Yeah, that's all I thought. Hare Krishna. No, he's actually thinking of you with affection. So imagine Krishna, knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Let me in. It's Krishna. I own this house. It's my house. Okay, you can come in. Krishna comes in, he sits down, he's like, Prabhu, what's up? What's up with this schnick schnick rom rom? And like, I want you to come back to Godhead. So, what's up with this? I can't get up in the morning. It's too hard. What's up with this? I don't like to read stuff. What's up with this? I'm too lazy to. Yeah, I'm too lazy. You work 20 hours a day, but when it comes to spiritual life, I'm too lazy. Krishna's like, you don't seem lazy. So what would and then Krishna says, you know, I'm waiting for you and I have a lot of love for you, but there's one problem I see here. You don't have the same love for me, and it's like making me sad. What would you say? You'd probably say, I'm sorry, I will try. I want to love you. Wouldn't you? I hope so. So that's what's behind this purport. That's what's underneath this purport is that Krishna is saying, I'm coming in all these forms for you because I love you and I'm waiting for you to be Krishna conscious. And I've been waiting forever and I'm still waiting. So what are you waiting for? Basically, like what's so important? So Krishna's like, if we made it modern, like a modern, like we do a movie, Krishna comes and he's like, cool dude, modern. He's like, so he comes in, what's up with this? What's up with all this like important stuff you got? I'm waiting for you. What's like so important, like what's going on? It's like, you have to go somewhere and your friend or your wife or your husband's like, hold on, I have things to do. Like, what's so important? We're late. So Krishna is asking all of us, what's so important that's holding you back? And you look at it and you go, in the light of eternity and a relationship with Krishna, it's probably not that important, is it? If that's the thing that's going to get in the way of our relationship, it's not that important. How important? I mean, what would you tell Krishna? You're going to say, well, what's getting in the way of our relationship? Well, it's that new house I need to get. That's why I'm working 14 jobs this week. He's like, that house is more important than me. And you're like, look down. What are you going to say? You turn red like a beet, wouldn't you? What are you going to say? I guess not, Krishna. I guess yeah. Of course, once you see him, then nothing's important anymore. But these are things to meditate on. I mean, that's personal. Like, for example, sometimes devotees say, I don't know if I should do this or not, or I don't know if this is true or not. And I'll say, well, just imagine you were in front of Prabhupada and you were talking to him. And, what do you want to tell him? I don't know if I should do this or not. I don't know if this is right or not. Well, now you're going to meet Prabhupada and you're going to tell him, I did that or I didn't do it. What do you want to tell him? And it helps. It helps clarify a lot what I should do. Prabhu, I don't know if I should do this or not. Well, do you want to tell Prabhupada you did it or you want to tell him you didn't do it? It can help you. So I'm in front of Krishna and he's asking me, so what's so important? That's getting in the way of this relationship. It's a nice meditation. Just look at what's getting in the way of the relationship and then kind of minimize it as much as you can, and then maximize. That gives you time and energy to put into that relationship. So I guess the question to all of you is how important is that relationship to you? And the more important it is, the easier your spiritual life will be. The more important it is, the more you'll be attracted to the processes and the more easily you'll do austerity because we all do austerity anyway. When I when I was first a devotee in those days in the brahmacharya ashram, we didn't have hot water. The hot water switch, like they would just take the handle off. Yeah. I just heard a story last night. One devotee came in and said, I could fix that handle. This is in Canada. I'm in Canada. He's like, I could fix that handle. He goes, no, only cold showers in Canada. That's like freezing in the winter or below. You're showering with ice, basically. Um, so we would What was I forgot what was I saying? What was the point? Well,
Austerities become easy when
yeah. Oh
we
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So we take cold showers, right? And so when I was a kid in California, we would go surfing. And although California's not that cold, but still the winter it gets down to, you know, 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees. You in Celsius or Fahrenheit? So it's like 10, 9, 10, and the water's like 15, 16. That's still cold, right? It's pretty cold. And you're sitting in water. So they say take a cold shower, I think, well, I was in a lot of cold water surfing and such a sissy that I would only do it for my sense gratification. I did it for my sense gratification. At least I could do it for Krishna. Do you ever think like that when it comes time to do austerity and you think, wow, I did that. I did that for my sense gratification. Shouldn't I do it for Krishna? Prabhu, we need to do this. You got to get up and do this. Well, I did that for my work. I worked hard. I got up early. I did that in school, studied all night, and so on. But I don't want to do it for Krishna. And now you can think, I wonder what Krishna is feeling. That's the whole point of this class. What is Krishna feeling when I say, Krishna, when I surfed, I would take the cold shower, but now I'm not going to do it for you. I only do it for my sense gratification. And Krishna's like, that breaks my heart. I wish you'd do it for me. Well, that's how we should think. So we're going to stop and see. Some of you have to go to work or are already at work. And otherwise, you could ask questions. Let's see, we may have questions in the chat. Why am I still taking birth in this material? Last days, I was thinking, why am I still taking birth in the material world? Now you know. Now you know why. You know the real answer because you want to. If you want to enjoy materially, you need a body. How can you enjoy materially if you don't have a body? So that's why Prabhupada said, if you have material desire, you'll have to take birth because that's just, you can't do it without a body. But if you have no material desire, why do you need a material body? Okay, Materna, do you want to say something?
Yes, Haribo.
Jai,
Hari
Hare
Hari.
Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So I was thinking, I had thoughts, 2 points I wanted to bring up. The first was you were saying, why are we staying in this material world for these things, these houses, these gadgets? And I was thinking, well, underneath all of that, we're not feeling we're not feeling loved. We're trying to get acceptance. We're making all these efforts, and there's like an underlying belief behind all that we're struggling with, and it keeps repeating. It's just like a pattern that keeps going and going, and we're trying to get the love and acceptance through these things and through relationships. And when we're coming from this very needy place, instead of it being, with another person, a loving exchange, it becomes a love grab. And we're trying to grab these things to fulfill this
Yeah,
unloved part of ourself. So I was thinking like this is like underneath all of that.
yes. If you
Um,
feel if you feel Krishna's love, then that's better than any love you could get. I mean, not that we don't want love, but that's the deepest, most satisfying for sure.
yes, yes. And then so that's perfect leads me to the second point I'm bringing. I was on the Bhakti Center class this morning, and I'm just seeing that our ISKCON is dripping. My experience right now is it's just dripping with spiritual bypassing. We had a little discussion on WhatsApp with this, and to discuss to further it is like somebody said in the class that, oh yes, when we're having internal problems, issues, just turn to Krishna, just reach out, to tell Krishna and reach out, he'll solve all the problems. And so I brought up like, hey, okay, we don't have this loving connection with him, but yes, we need to turn to him. But it's like when we have a health issue, are we going to just say, Krishna, please fix this? Or are we going to actually make some effort to get help and clean up our diet and do better? If we have a serious financial issue, are we going to actually try to figure out how to make money in a better way? So we have these like underlying issues and pains and wounds inside of us. And then the philosophy is just turn to Krishna, he'll fix it. But we don't actually do a deep dive and look at what's going on, why I'm not feeling loved, I'm trying to be accepted and get love in this world. What's happening? Why are these underlying patterns there? So I thought to just bring up this, and the answer is pretty much always yes. Just turn to Krishna, and that will solve the problem. But that's the first step, as I see.
That's a whole other topic for another class.
Yes.
You have the topic is you read something, and on the surface it appears very clear. You turn to Krishna and he'll solve all the problems. But then many people turn to Krishna and neglected so many things in their life, and they have so many problems that were caused by thinking that, like Krishna, like you say, would solve all my problems. Yeah, that's a whole topic. I have 13 or 20 classes on that, I think. Um, yeah, it's a there's a broader topic, or there's a tangent to that topic, which is you look at something and you only understand it in a very limited way. And that limited way will cause you to misapply the principle. We did that early in the movement, terribly, because we were very young, and Prabhupada would say something or read something, and it was like the best way I could explain it, was like he would explain it in 3 dimensions and we would understand it in 2 dimensions. Like we didn't have enough understanding or of Krishna consciousness or a material maturity. Well, that's a bad example because it doesn't make sense to you. He would explain it, and his understanding would be 360 degrees, and ours would be about 10 degrees. So with our limited understanding would cause us to do the wrong things. Anyway, that's another point. Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, great point. That's
Uh,
yeah.
yes. Some sometimes in the name of following Prabhupada, you do something and hurt a devotee. That would be an example. Or you mistreat a devotee. Or you mistreat yourself. Or you do something that's not good for yourself. Yeah, that would be an example. Okay. Could you kindly explain the distinction between following in the footsteps of the Acharya and imitating their actions? That's quite simple. We want to exemplify the things that the Acharyas exemplified, but you can't always do it the way they did it, number one. So that would be imitation. I'm gonna sleep 2 hours. Okay, reduce your sleep if you can, but 2 hours would be imitation. The other aspect of imitation is you're able to do what the acharyas have done, and then you think you're on the same level because you did it. You did what they did. Like in I don't know if you know this, but in at Govardhan Eco Village, maybe they still do this. They told me when I was last there, but it was like, I don't know, 8 years ago. When in Thakur Haridas's appearance day, they all chanted 192 rounds. You were there, Sanatana Dharma? Did you do it?
Yes, Prabhuji, we did it. 3 years.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? So now Sanatan Dharma, if Sanatan Dharma walks around is going like, well, me and Haridas Thakur were pretty much the same because I did 192 runs. That would be imitation because you do what they did and then you think you're now them. That was like, what's the point of chanting 192 rounds? I think your Guru Maharaj said, you fast, you do a fast, but you're feeding your false ego while you're fasting because you're thinking, I'm fasting, I'm better than everybody. So you you imitate, and it has sometimes the complete opposite reaction. You become proud. I chant 192 rounds. That means I'm better than everyone in ISKCON because I don't even think the gurus chant 192 rounds ever. So I'm the best devotee. And then when you think you're the best devotee, Krishna says, "Okay, bye bye. See you later. We don't need you." So I think that is clear. How a devotee can learn how to pray, include feelings. Why, despite knowing so much about Krishna, bhakti still feels dry as if we are dragging just to do 16 rounds? Krishna says, remember and forgetfulness come from me. Yeah. It's um, the short answer to this question is that where there's no love, it's dry. Like you have a relationship with someone. If there's no affection, the relationship it just finishes, right? It's like I was thinking this morning because I think a lot about couples and what ends a relationship with a couple and what makes a relationship. Well, in the beginning, what made the relationship was affection. If they lose affection, then what's like you don't even want to be around the person because you have no affection, right? Isn't it? Like, why do you want to be with someone you have no feeling towards at all? If you have no feeling towards the holy name, if you have no feeling towards your sadhana or your service, then it's going to be dry. So you have to put that feeling in. And what is that feeling? What I said today is that feeling is, Krishna, you love me and I don't love you, and you want me to love you. So help me love you. This is not good. It is not good that I don't love you. You love me and I don't love you. That's not good. And you've loved me forever, and I've not loved you forever. And I want to stop this. And I want to, if you, this screen is so small. I'm looking at your name. Nanda Mohini. Here's a really beautiful exercise. Just allow yourself to feel Krishna's love. So think of all the ways Krishna loves you, like he gave you Krishna consciousness, he gave you your Guru Maharaj, he's giving you the Sangha, he's giving you prasadam, he's giving you all the Shastra. Just go down the list. He's helped you, he's always giving you intelligence. Just go down the list and all the ways that you can allow yourself to feel Krishna's love. And when you feel that love, then you can do bhakti, because when you feel it, you can reciprocate with it. What are you going to reciprocate with if you don't feel it? So if it's dry, you need to feel his love more. So then you'll want to reciprocate. Does that make sense? I mean, you have the movie. I don't know. It's probably a Bollywood movie. It's done a million times. I love you. Yeah, you're wonderful. But I love the girl next door. I don't love you. And the girl next door is like the worst thing for you. And this woman in front of you is the best thing for you. There was a movie like that. I think I saw it on the airplane. I forget. Anybody see that movie? Anyway, it's probably 100 movies like that, right? Isn't it? Yeah. I love you. Yeah, but I don't feel it, right? Yeah, you're 1 pound overweight. I'm not into this. I love the girl next door, but she doesn't even care about you. And she's got 10 boyfriends. I know, but I love her. So how you can't reciprocate with this? You don't feel the love of this woman. You can't reciprocate, right? There's like, I don't feel it. There's nothing there. How are you going to, if you want to serve Krishna with love, you got to feel that. It's so important. Don't think he doesn't love you, doesn't care about you. Okay, Sanatan Dharma wants to say something.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. I have two questions based on the two statements which you made in the class.
Okay.
I'll ask this question. You mentioned that in our preaching, we should tell people that Krishna loves us, and
Yes.
at the same time, we should represent the love of Krishna
Yes.
to them.
Yes.
Now, I'm facing a struggle with one particular devotee where this devotee is actually very caring, concerned, has very good service attitude. At the same time, is very, very disrespectful in dealings, very harsh, very rude. The other side is there, but wants to
Yes.
keep the relationship.
With you.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So for a relationship has to be there, but then there is, I find that there is no self-respect in that relationship
Yeah.
because there's no respect.
Yes.
So at the same time, the relationship is wanted. And
Yeah.
I have personally begged forgiveness many times. Okay, without making mistakes or having made mistakes, begged
Yeah.
forgiveness. I'm
Yes.
sorry, but still something or the other comes up, and again there is this rude behavior. So
Yeah.
you mentioned that Krishna never gives up, but I felt for my personal peace and also the peace of that devotee, it's
Yes.
good to take a break for this lifetime and wait till we go to Golok someday. Good relationship.
Well,
Understanding, okay.
yeah. I think there's truth to that. I was thinking this morning of a thought which is somewhat related to this, and then I'll go more into your question. As an organization and as individuals, we should never treat anyone in a way that if they left Krishna consciousness, they would tell the world, this is how I was treated, poorly. But we should treat them in a way that they could, if for some reason they left Krishna consciousness, of course, if we treat them well, they wouldn't have a reason to leave, but that still could happen. But we should treat everyone in a way that if they did leave Krishna consciousness and they asked, why did you leave? They could not point their finger at anybody. They could just say it was, I lost my interest or whatever, or I became a Buddhist or whatever. What was the movement like? Very nice. They were very loving. They're very kind. So that's one thought. We don't want to treat anyone in a way that, because many devotees, not many, but there are devotees who have left and they have bitter feelings and they'll point the fingers at devotees and how they were ill-treated. And I always think, no matter what's going on, what conflict is going on, I don't want to ever treat someone in a way that they would say, this is what's bad about the Hare Krishna. It's Sanatan Dharma. That's why I left ISKCON. It's the way he treated me. So that's a point. I'm not saying how you should deal with them, but it's a point just to keep in mind that this person would never have justification to say that I mistreated them. It doesn't mean sometimes people won't feel mistreated, but there's a saying, people may criticize you, but don't give any evidence that what they're saying about you is true. It's just they're just saying it. So someone may say so many bad things about it. Just don't give them the evidence that it's true. I think that's important. And in our forgiveness course, we say that sometimes when you forgive, you may not, the best thing for the relationship is distance, or you may not even want a relationship because it's not healthy for either of you. And then the other thing is, if you want to be loving towards a person like that, it's always good to understand that you're if you're kind, you're generous, you're sweet, etc., and someone cannot always reciprocate with that, it's probably because of difficulties they've had in their life that make it hard to open up to that or reciprocate with it. Or, like I have one devotee, when we talk about love, she always says, I never received love. I don't, when you say love, I don't even know what it is. I never had it because she was, abused as a child. So that's also a factor. There's a saying, if you understood all the suffering that another person has gone through, it would totally negate any ill feeling you had towards them. because you would be feeling like you're kicking somebody who's already on the ground. So it's something to think about. We don't know. But if someone is, you're nice to them and they're not able to reciprocate, or they in some way um, mistreat you for no reason, probably there's something that they have gone through in their life that makes it difficult to not feel, that they always feel like a victim, and then they'll accuse you of this and that. And probably that's how they grew up, being oppressed in some way. So it's good to think like that, because there's the saying, hurt people hurt people. So if you've been hurt, you will tend to hurt others. And so it's a really good sign. It's not always easy, because when people offend us, we become defensive. It's not always easy. But when people are hurting, it's always good to think hurting us, that they must be hurting also. And I think that's um, it's like a lot of times the young women have trouble with their mother-in-laws, and the mother-in-laws feel hurt in a sense that you're not treating my son the way I treated him, or that you're not respecting me the way I respected my mother-in-law. So if you go into that mindset, you go, oh, okay, that's why they feel that way. And you'll feel offended by how they treat you, but it's always helpful to understand. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. You had another question?
Yes, another question was you made a statement in the class that yes, I really love that statement that beyond the philosophy or with the philosophy also there is a feeling, and we should not just take that philosophy goes to the head, but the feeling is something that is associated with the heart.
Yes.
Question was uh, just out of concern for my own self that if I try to look for the feeling every time uh, behind the philosophy, which is healthy. At the same time, what is the guarantee I'm not speculating or will I drift towards being childlike? That's my
Yeah.
question.
And your emotions could lie to you.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
um, I think in a sense, like everything that you're feeling, you want to validate with the philosophy. So it's not like philosophy is not there, because that's what sahaja means. You're feeling, but you're not following proper sadhana, or you're not following the tattva, siddhanta.
Mm,
So sometimes a devotee will say, I'm feeling something, but I don't know if it's correct, if this feeling is correct, or it's just my mind, right? Or it's just my emotions overtake my material emotion. And then we go to the philosophy and say, okay, how does this line up philosophically, what I'm feeling? Um, is there a place for this feeling within our philosophy, or is this just like a mundane emotion that has nothing to do? And maybe you don't know, and maybe you have to discuss with someone else that but my experience with trying to feel what's in the philosophy was more at feeling what those personalities were feeling, and then me feeling that rather than me, like,
mm,
you know like what is Ambarish Maharaj feeling, what is Prahlad Maharaj feeling, and questions may come up, but then you think, what is Prahlad Maharaj? So you go into the philosophy to understand what they're feeling, and then you start to realize, oh, Prahlad Maharaj is seeing Krishna everywhere. So that's why he's fearless. He's feeling fearless. So it's not like just feeling or just philosophy. But did you see the movie, the Nisringadev movie? Yeah. So
yes, yes, Prabhuji.
you got the feelings more in the movie, right?
Yeah,
Isn't it? It's like
yes.
you watch the movie and you go, oh, I never felt all these emotions when I read it. This is so much better, the movie, especially if you see it in the theater. It's like a big screen and everything's loud. And it's like, ah, look at how Prahlad is suffering. Look how pure he is. Um, when I was watching them, when I was in Amsterdam, we went and we all, like 20 devotees, went and saw it. We were basically the only ones in the theater. It was during the day. And while I was watching it, I was thinking, This is what happens when you see the Bhagavatam dramatized. You feel it. You feel it all, isn't it? Like when you hear a song. If someone sings a song, a verse from Bhagavad Gita or some verse in English, you feel it. If you didn't understand, if you don't understand Bengali or Sanskrit, then you hear it in your local language, you feel it. So it's like that. Um, and generally, I don't think those feelings, because they're generated by hearing the Leela, um, I generally think they're real. I mean, of course, at the same time, you say, well, when I saw Prahlad Maharaj, I felt this. But that's your feeling. You can't say necessarily that's wrong. It's not if it's not against our philosophy. I felt like he had so much faith in Krishna's protection that if I had that much faith, I could live in this world fearlessly. That's, who's going to argue with that? That's your feeling. You can't argue with it. But, if you come up with some opposite conclusion from watching that, that's different. But generally, I don't think devotees would. We're so fortunate. You know, we hear about sahajiyas, and sahajiyas are like cheapening bhakti, minimizing the principles and sadhana and coming up with ideas that aren't in Shastra. It's harder for us to become sahajiyas because Prabhupada's laid out the philosophy so clearly. Like for us to become Sahajiya, we really like, what didn't you understand in Prabhupada's books? It's right there. It's black and white. But the Sahajiyas have a whole disciplic succession of wrong ideas. So it's harder for us. Is that okay? Hmm. I have to go back and look. So many questions. Yeah. Okay. The next question. Scriptures say that we cannot tolerate offenses. Who cannot tolerate offenses? Krishna. Krishna can. Today I saw some comments from a random person on a devotee video that was offensive to him. We shouldn't tolerate offenses of others, and mainly to Srila Prabhupada. And obviously I got angry. You should get angry, but it seemed pointless to start a discussion. It would have no effect, and maybe the person would offend even more. That's possible. What should we do in these situations? I ask this because I want to know the feeling behind the scripture verses that talk about offenses, which is today's class topic. Yeah, well, the same way if someone you loved was offended, how would you feel? Like someone comes up to your boyfriend and says, you're the stupidest person I've ever seen. You're just an idiot. You have no good qualities. And, I know you abuse children and like that. You don't want to kill him, right? So, if you can't kill him, probably, not that you would try, just kidding. So Shastra says you convince that person that they're wrong. No, Prabhupada didn't say this, or he didn't mean that, or this devotee is a very nice devotee. I know them. They're not as you say. You try to convince them, and if you feel, as you did, that that's not possible, you walk away. So that because if we hear a devotee being offended, then we're participating, in a sense, in that offense. So that's how you don't participate in it. You convince the person, you try, but if you feel that they're not going to listen, then you walk away so you don't have to hear the offense. What happens is if you hear a devotee being blasphemed, it will affect your heart as if you were blaspheming. So that's the principle, and it destroys faith. I have personal experience. If you hear someone speaking negatively about a devotee, you will lose any trust you had in that devotee. You will lose, and it can spiral. Well, why did ISKCON put this person in charge? And you lose faith in ISKCON. And this person's a guru. Well, if he can do that, what about the other gurus? It's like it's a spiral. So it's very dangerous. So here's how we understand it. We want to hear glorification of devotees. That is so purifying to hear glorification of devotees. In fact, when my daughter was, I don't know, 8 years old, a devotee in Alachua died who's very dear to everyone. And I couldn't go to the memorial ceremony. But my daughter went. And when she came back from the memorial ceremony, I had never seen her so Krishna conscious ever, because she just heard like 2 hours of glorification of this devotee. And it was like, oh, when I saw that, it's like, okay, now I understand the power of glorifying a devotee, because after hearing 2 hours of glorification of this devotee, my 8-year-old daughter consciousness was like in Goloka Vrindavan. Now, imagine the consciousness she'd be in if we heard 2 hours of criticism of that devotee. You can understand, right? So we should glorify the devotees, and you can defend them by glorifying them. Say, I don't agree with what you're saying, or you can leave so you don't have to hear it. And you should be mad. You should be angry. If you're not, something's wrong with you. Of course, I think all of us would be upset to hear blasphemy of a devotee. Okay, Mahasundari Radhika Devidasi is going to ask a question.
Hare Krishna
Okay.
Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a wonderful hope-giving class. My question almost you have answered in other questions, but I still want to share what my question was. Uh, Many times when I chant very inattentively, and after that I have that guilt that I
Mhm.
have chanted very badly.
Yes.
I I start avoiding Krishna. I'm not
Mm.
able to uh, do eye contact with the deities,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
start
yeah.
avoiding.
Wow.
So I
Wow.
want to understand how that time I realized that yes, Krishna loves me, but how to give that conviction to myself that no, it's still okay, and how to restart from there.
Yeah.
That was my
Well,
question.
I have a better solution. I have a better answer. Just don't chant poorly, and then you don't have to ask the question anymore. Right?
Yes, Prabhu.
I think, you know what it is? This is such a good point to discuss in the Japa. We're doing a Japa workshop. Anyone who wants to come, you can fly to Winnipeg, Canada. We're waiting for you. Um, I think Maha Sundari Radhika Devidasi, I think everybody feels this way. It's just most of us suppress it because we don't want to admit that I kind of, I was chanting, but I was kind of like avoiding Krishna while I was chanting. I mean, I'm trying to avoid Krishna forever. So it's not unusual that I would try to avoid him even while I'm chanting japa, because, I'm the center of the universe. Have you noticed that you're the center of the universe? Yeah. Because I'm the center of the universe, sometimes I'll even avoid Krishna while I chant, or I'll use the holy name for my material pleasure, or some kind of sense of pleasure that's not related to pleasing Krishna. So I think we all experience it, but many of us just don't even want to talk about it because it's so painful. So we just don't think about it. And so the fact that you think about it is quite good because you're facing it. And what I would say, Krishna, please forgive me for chanting this way. I will not do this. I will make my best efforts. And in New Vrindavan, we had a class on vows. And one section of the class, we realized there's many things we can't vow to do because we're afraid we won't do them. But there's things that we can try to move towards. So rather than a vow, we make kind of like a sankalpa, like an intention. And the intention that I've made years ago is that I will not chant bad rounds. I can't vow because sometimes I'm sick and I don't have energy to chant, and sometimes it's like I didn't chant in the morning and I have to finish later. I didn't chant them all in the morning, finish later, and it's distracting. So I can't always do it, but at least I can make that intention. and say, I'm sorry, Krishna, I'm making intention. I will not chant poorly. So that will help. So that becomes a conscious thing in you. So when you're chanting poorly, rather than feel guilty, your intention kicks in. It's like, oh, I made an intention not to do this. So I saved myself, rather than just chanting 16 bad rounds. 16 bad rounds is not the goal of Krishna consciousness. I just heard, my dear devotees, I heard something yesterday. It's so wonderful. Prabhupada said 4 regulative principles. He said initiation means 4 regulative principles and 16 good rounds, not 16 rounds. And when I initiate my disciples, they say I'll chant 16 rounds. I'm like, okay, not good enough for me. What kind of rounds? They say 16 good rounds. I go, oh, I just feel that's important, because you're not making a vow to just chant 16. And then I finally heard Prabhupada said it, 16 good rounds. So, all of you initiated devotees, in case you didn't know, you vowed to chant 16 good rounds, and all of you who are going to get initiated, you're going to make a vow to chant 16 good rounds, not any rounds. And if you're making a vow to chant 16 good rounds, at least make a vow to not chant any bad rounds. That's a starting point. Like I can't always chant good rounds, but I can fairly not, it's not so difficult to not chant bad rounds, right? Not chant rounds that are just like, why am I even chanting rounds? You ever chanted rounds like that? Like, why am I even chanting rounds? Raise your hand if you ever chanted, why am I even chanting rounds? Yeah. Okay, if you didn't raise your hand, you didn't understand the question. Yeah. We've all done it, right? Isn't it? Yeah. So if you make that intention that I will never chant bad rounds, then when you're chanting, why am I even chanting rounds, you'll catch yourself. Which is like, so we've all done that. Yeah. In fact, you know, what's really cool, if you want to do this, if somebody wants to do this and I can help you, I should have done it. I kind of did it, actually. I have a how not to chant Hare Krishna little booklet, how not to chant. But you give someone beads and say chant, you should tell them these are all the things you're going to do wrong. Don't do these things. You're going to, because we all do them. And we make a promise to ourselves, I will not chant poorly. Okay. Casey is practiced too dogmatic instead of softening. We are hardening. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Dogmatic and fanatical practice can stem, not even that it hardens the heart, it could stem from a heart that's already hard. Wow. I have a long question here. Recently, I have a very heartbreaking and betrayal experience from a devotee. I have tried to serve that devotee with my life and soul, but he ended up very opportunistic and took undue advantage of me and my family. I clearly told that I have struggles, but I serve that devotee in the toughest situation so he can serve the mission. Initially, that devotee used to complement my services until the ulterior motives were served. I want to forgive that devotee, because despite telling that devotee, his actions have affected my health. Devotee puts and shifts blame on me. I was good for that devotee, but for mental peace, I took break from that devotee. In this lifetime, should I take it as my karmic reaction? I'm going through this mental stress for the last 6 months. But after repeatedly telling that devotee he doesn't show compassion and empathy, the devotee expects compassion when he was in mental stress and depression, but he doesn't care for his actions. Is that the same devotee Sanatan Dharma was dealing with? Or there's, yeah. Well, I have good news for you in Ashwan. I understand what you're going through. in the middle of November, we're doing a forgiveness course online, and you should take that course because that's the best thing to solve this problem. And it's the second and third weekends of November. We do the course both weekends at different time. One's in the morning and one's in the evening, and it's Saturday, Sunday. So you should take that course. But I can there's something really interesting. And this is going to sound like I'm not empathetic, and I don't want to sound that way because I am, because I know how hard it is for you, and I can feel how hard it is. And but there's another way to look at it, that Krishna sends these difficulties for us so we can learn to be forgiving. Because if he didn't send us this situation, we wouldn't be able to learn to forgive. And so um, one way to think about this is that maybe Krishna has sent this situation to you to learn how to forgive. I know that's my experience with my forgiveness, that it was like after I forgave, I learned a lesson, which was like I couldn't have learned it. I didn't see it until I forgave. It's like, oh, I needed to learn this lesson. Thank you, Krishna. It's like I had an operation last year. What's today? Yeah, the operation was yesterday and a year ago. And today was, I went back in again. It wasn't over in one day. Today. So that was difficult. But what I learned, oh my God, I couldn't have got it without going through it. So sometimes you have to go through hell and back to learn something. So that's one way of learning, and say, Krishna, you know, another thing that's interesting, and I don't know if this will happen to you or to you, Sanatan Dharma, but sometimes when you learn the lesson, the person stops being a problem because you don't need the lesson anymore. That's interesting. And people have told me that somebody was bothering them and they learned the lesson, whatever it was, to be more tolerant or kind. And then the person stopped bothering them, which is very mystical, but sometimes that happens. So it's something to think about, isn't it? Interesting, right? Counting the days for the Japa workshop in Toronto. Yeah. Yeah. I have so much fun doing Japa workshops and retreats. It's so the holy name is so beautiful, and in the retreats it just kind of like opens up like I didn't know that flower has all those colors, and I didn't know that flower opens up, and so the holy name starts to open up, and people get this experience with the holy name they never had, and I get to watch it, and I get experiences also like that. It's so beautiful. The holy name is everything. The holy name will do everything. The holy name is our only shelter. The holy name is it's always good to remember the holy name is full of sweetness. So if I'm not getting it, I can understand that something's lacking in me, but the sweetness is there. Like when you have, some flu and everybody's eating something saying it's delicious and you can't taste it. It's like, I know it's delicious. I can taste. Get better, get healthy, hurry up. Then you can taste it. So get better, you can taste it. I've been using a clicker to chant the rounds at work to complete 16 rounds instead of the Japa bag. Please share your thoughts on using the clicker. If you have to, just don't use it if you don't. Yeah, I don't know. You're going to get fired if you chant on Japa beads or something? I don't know. If you have to, use it. But if you don't have to, why use it? You can be holding Tulsi. That's always better. You know. Hopefully we'll have no pictures of gurus with clickers. They'll always be chanting on beads. That would be kind of funny, wouldn't it? Don't you think? Imagine Prabhupada in a picture Prabhupada with a clicker. Just imagining that picture is like, ah, right? So I think we're going to end here. Thank you all for tolerating me. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this wonderful class and the post-class question answer discussion. We are all very grateful to you for your time and your wonderful
Yeah.
realizations. So let's thank His Grace Mahatma Prabhu for giving us his valuable association this morning by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Ram
Rama
Ram,
Rama, Hare Hare. Let's offer
Gauranga.
our respects to Prabhuji. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, हिज ग्रेस महात्मा प्रभु जी की जय.
Bye,
Thank you.
Go Premanandi. Hari Hari
And
Bol. Hari Bol. Thank you all for coming. We'll see some of you tonight in person. It's
Hare
going to
Krishna.
be, yeah, we're going to have a great time. Hari Bol.